Councilmember Reed, are you on the Zoom? He's there, but it looks like his audio's not connected. Okay. Councilmember Reed, I'm not sure if you can hear us. Councilmember Burns, are you on the Zoom? Oh, he is now. Burns and Reed. Okay. Council members Burns and Reed, this is Councilmember Nusma from the dais. We cannot get started with less than a quorum in person. At the moment, there's only myself in person. And so, Chair Reed, if you are online, we could at least do the award presentation and stuff, if you would call the meeting to order.
I just texted him.
All right, well, I will go ahead and call this meeting halfway to order as soon as the mayor gets here. All right, are we recording? All right, thank you.
Recording in progress.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jonathan Nusma, representing.
We're going to just start with presentations. Since Councilmember Kelly is seemingly stuck at work, so we'll still allow for presentations and public comment. And if we can gain a quorum, I will be arriving shortly in a few minutes. If we can get a quorum before our time elapsed, not then we will maybe start with the staff presentation.
Chair Reed, your audio is really cutting in and out. So what I believe you said is that we will call the meeting to order and do the presentations and whatever other limited business we can do before a quorum is present, including public comment. So the appointed hour having come and gone 20 minutes ago.
Yes, I'll call in so my audio's better.
Let's go ahead and do the proclamation.
So I invited the mayor and manager Sean Chelik here tonight. The city received the National Association of Fleet Administrators, Fleet Management Association. The city of Evanston was voted number 61 best fleet in 2022. So if the mayor and Sean Chelik would come up. I think it would be great if you guys just introduce yourself at the podium and say how long you've been with the city.
Ken Palmer, I'm the Fleet and Facilities Supervisor. Been with the city for 7 years, working with Sean for about 5 now.
Kenneth March, I've been with the city for 17 years. I was Mechanic 3.
Name is Brian Wormington. I've been with the City of Evanston for 6 years now.
My name is Gilberto Guevara. This is my first week with the City of Evanston.
Romeo Lim, lead mechanic. I've been with the city for 23 years.
Wojciech Kolko, I've been with the city 16 years, mechanic.
Luke Tatara, 14 years, facility and fleet supervisor.
Thank you, guys. On behalf of my colleagues, appreciate the work you do, and I'm only 1/9 of the council, but thank you all. Chair Reed, since we were having problems hearing you on the microphone, I believe we have your permission to go ahead with public announcements or public comment. And we have one person signed up for public comment.
I also want to add my,
Mike
yes,
Vasilko.
correct.
Mr. Vasilko, please.
So I get 45 minutes?
We're already 25 minutes behind. So.
Okay. All right, so I'd like to know why Evanston taxpayers are being charged for repairs of HVAC systems, chiller pump motors, piping, emergency glycol leaks, etc. at Robert Crown. These systems are less than 2 years old. The repairs, replacements should have been covered by warranty. In today's bills list, there's a bill for $12,000 for the repair of chiller pump motor and piping. But just over the last 5 months, only the last 5 months, not 2021 or earlier, there have been these kinds of similar repairs totaling $49,000. Over the same 5-month period, the city's paid $46,500 for preventative maintenance of the same systems at Robert Crown, and the preventative maintenance and the repairs contractor are the same contractor. So I guess it seems to me the maintenance isn't working, and I'd like to know why. I'd also like to know if the agreement that was with the Friends of Robert Crown, they were supposed to be raising money for the long-term maintenance of that building. So I'd like somebody to confirm that the maintenance expenses at Robert Crown are in fact coming from the Robert Crown account, or the Friends of Robert Crown account. But I do think the city's throwing its money away. $50,000 is a lot of money, even for Evanston, and we shouldn't be paying to repair new equipment that's under warranty. Lastly, I heard there was a meeting, I think last week, at Robert Crown with yourself, Council Member Nuisma, the interim city manager, Laura Biggs, and Council Member Kelly at Robert Crown to talk about the cracks in the concrete. I think that was great that the first meeting was has taken place, but I heard something kind of disturbing as a result, that Laura Biggs said the cracked concrete was a aesthetic decision. So I'd like clarification on that, because that just doesn't seem right in any way, shape, or form. And maybe if I have more time, I'd like to know why we still keep spending money on the animal shelter. If we're going to be looking for funds for climate change issues and for pension fund debt payments, I don't see how we're going to be able to fund a new animal shelter or other new facilities like a skate park, et cetera. And we keep spending, today's bills list has $31,000 for more consultants. It's usually $30,000 or $40,000 a month for that project for architectural fees. So I think we should stop that. And I'd like to know what the status of that project is when it comes to the plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vasilko. Do we have any further public comment? Seeing no further public comment, and given that we do not have a quorum, I do have a few questions, and we can maybe take a second to address some questions that folks have in the meantime. I guess I do. I'm curious, maybe Ms. Biggs, if you're able to answer some of Mr. Vasilko's questions regarding Is the funding for the Robert Crown maintenance coming out of the Friends of Robert Crown account, or have transfers been made to the city coffers that would cover this expense?
I think there is no Robert Crown, Friends of Crown specific account. So it is definitely not coming out of account, Robert Crown, Friends of Robert Crown. There is no specific account in the budget.
Mr. Fisso, one second, Mr.
entitled that.
Fisso. So the city, the Friends of Robert Crown fundraised, they're supposed to fundraise around 10 to 15 million, is that correct?
Something like that. I don't know the
And
numbers for sure.
I think they did raise roughly $10 million at least. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
And has that money been transferred to the city?
The city has received that money, yes.
The full 10 million?
To my knowledge, yes. But again, I have difficulty responding to questions when I'm asked 30 seconds before and not knowing what the questions are. So I don't know all this off the top of my head, and that would be something more that the finance director would be more familiar with.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because we're spending, we're authorizing, or we would be authorizing funds for the maintenance of Robert Crown, and my understanding was that the Friends of Robert Crown, the funds raised by Friends of Robert Crown was meant to support the long-term maintenance of the building.
I believe that
Manager,
the
again,
funds were used to pay for debt service for the construction of the building, not necessarily for the maintenance of the building. And so,
Manager Ganderski.
Good evening, Chair Reed and members of the APW Committee, Kelly Ganderski, Interim City Manager. I believe CFO Desai is online. We can ask him. I believe the 10 million's been transferred, but he can confirm. I think there was a transfer made actually last week.
Thank you, thank you. Director Desai?
Hitesh, are you on?
Director Desai, you're muted if you were attempting to speak. We'll give him a second.
Actually upstairs, he might be coming down.
Thank you.
Actually, I think I have it right here.
Thank you.
So as of there was another 600,000 that was supposed to have been transferred either today or late last week. Hitesh can confirm that. And that would bring total transferred in cash from Friends of Robert Crown and State of Illinois to 11.437 million. That covers the 6 million in construction costs and nearly all of the 5.8 million in principal and interest to date. But I'll let Hitesh confirm that he's received.
Thank you. And I think the two numbers were, total amount was 11.4 million. Thank you.
He's heading down.
Thank you. How are you, sir?
Hey, good afternoon, council member.
Afternoon. Good evening.
Okay. So we just received some money, I think, on last week. So we are right now at $10.8 million, including the state grants.
So not including the state grants, what have we received from Friends of Robert Crown?
$1 million less,
Okay. So 9-point-something million dollars?
10.8 less 1 million, 9.8.
Okay. And do we keep this money in a separate fund? What fund is this going? Is there a line item? And what,
No, it's a separate fund.
oh, okay. What is the name of the
Crown
fund?
Construction Fund.
Crown Construction Fund. Okay.
So there's a separate fund, the Crown Maintenance Fund.
That's a separate fund too.
And can you tell us what the balance of that fund is? Do you have that information?
Crown, we have posted March financials on the website. And I mean, we have transferred some money even this year. We do it on a pro rata basis, so transparency, financial reports. Okay. So Fund 417, which is a Crown Community Center maintenance, we have received 43,000, and which is a prorated for 3 months. So I think 175,000 annually. That's the transfer going into that maintenance fund.
And so the current balance is somewhere around,
The revenues for 3 months, which is prorated, is
Yeah.
43,750.
okay, so the fund balance now is somewhere around,
370,000.
Fund balance is 370, yes.
and that fund is being held in reserve for long-term capital improvements.
Mainly of this, yes, capital nature, not the operating.
Right. So the short-term needs of HVAC maintenance is coming out of a separate fund. It's not coming out of that designated Crown.
It could come out of the Crown Center regular fund, yeah, Crown.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks.
So in the budget, there are two positions allocated in facilities management to be hired and work at the Crown Center. But those employees, the way the budget was set up, we weren't to hire those employees until July. So in the meantime, we are contracting out the HVAC maintenance of the Crown Center to do the routine maintenance that needs to be formed because we don't have sufficient staff to do that work in-house at this point in time. But when we hire the two employees and they get trained up on it, then that HVAC maintenance will contract on the equipment, keep it running, will be eliminated, and our in-house personnel will take over the maintenance of it.
Thank you. Okay, well, with that, I have maybe one last question for Corporation Counsel, and just for, committee's sake in the future, if we are in this situation, this meeting was posted with a virtual option that the public had access to and council members had access to. And there are committees that meet fully virtual, and even the committees that meet fully virtual require that a staff member or a member of the committee is on site at the location where the committee is to be held. No, but we've had committees that are fully virtual, where no one's meeting in person. And so if we have Councilmember Burns on the line, what about this meeting, given the way it was posted and noticed, would stop us from moving forward with the business of the city if committees can meet fully virtual? Thank you. And if you need a second, please take a second.
Good evening, Chair Reed, members of the APW Committee. Michelle Ozuribo, Deputy City Attorney. From my understanding with this standing committee, the majority of the quorum has to be present in person in order to conduct business. So as we've done tonight, we can call the meeting to order, but we are not allowed to conduct business without the quorum, the majority of the quorum being present in person. So that would be the difference between this versus the other committees.
Is that under the Governor's OMA declaration and any changes to OMA that have occurred? And what separates this committee from, for example, HCDC, the Housing and Community Development Committee?
So with your first question, whether it's pursuant to OMA, that would be correct. And then.
Specifically to the Governor's order?
Correct.
Okay.
And then what was your second question? I'm sorry.
What separates this committee, the APW committee, from, for example, the Housing and Community Development Committee, which recently met completely virtual, and other committees that I serve on that have met completely virtual?
Well, I think with this committee, it's not a complete virtual option. It is a hybrid model, so that's to comply with OMA why we have the certain in-person requirements. But I can pass for just a second and get.
Corporation Counsel Cummings.
Good afternoon, members of the Administrative and Public Works Committee, Nicholas Cummings, Corporation Counsel. So the standing committees of City Council were not included in the mayor's written proclamation on file with the clerk concerning the I can't think of the term right now, but the impracticability of meeting in person. Standing committees of council were not included as part of that. The boards, commissions, and committees are. So these meetings are noticed as in person with a virtual option for the public to participate. If members of the committee wish to participate virtually, they have to follow the regular rules of the Open Meetings Act, where there has to be a majority of the quorum present in order to do, a quorum present in order to do so. A quorum present in the physical location.
And so the chair of the committee wouldn't have the ability, as the, this becomes its own public body, to say, hey, it seems impractical that we would meet in person and hold that meeting virtual?
When I sought advice concerning that each committee chair be able to make that determination, it was explained, and I believe I presented a memo to this to the council, that it's the head of the public body as designated by FOIA, which is the mayor, as opposed to the individual public bodies under OMA.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, with that, we do not have a quorum, and we've done all the business that we can do without a quorum, and so this meeting is...
Chair.
Oh, sorry, Councilmember Burns.
One, I had a question about the warranties that's come up a few times.
Oh, please,
the warranties related to the work at. I'm sorry. Did you say something?
Yeah, I said go ahead. Feel free to ask your questions.
So that's just the question. Is that do we have any information about the warranties related to the construction of Robert Crown? Because that's come up a few times, and then also I still would like to move item A10 for. Or I don't know if we can move it. I know we can't vote on it, but can we at least discuss it so that we're ready to vote on it next time?
Sure. We can have a discussion as long as it's not voted on.
But the first question is, do we have any information on the warranties related to the construction of the Robert Crown facility?
Yes, we have some information. So a lot of the warranties are only for 1 year after installation, so we've exceeded that. But then there are longer-term warranties, such as on the roof, I believe we'd either have like a 10 or a 20-year warranty. And we have some longer duration warranties on some of the major pieces of equipment. But like the booster pumps and things like that, you have a 1 year warranty on them. And so those warranties have expired at this point in time.
Thank you. And Chair, I don't know, should we move A10 or can we just discuss it?
Yeah, I'm willing to discuss, but Councilmember Newsom, did you have a follow-up to?
I just want to make clear that the money in our bills list tonight, the expenditures on Crown maintenance, is routine maintenance that we're subcontracting. It's not repairing something that went wrong or something that broke. Even if it were within a warranty period, it's not warranty related.
There are I think that there's two different items on the bills list. One is that we did have to put some vibration equipment on some of the booster pumps that, again, it was after a year and there was vibration, so it began weakening the connection, if you will. And so we thought the proper way to address that was to put some vibration equipment with those pumps. And then the other portion, and again, I don't have the bills list right in front of me, but I do know that we did hire the vendor that installed the equipment to provide monthly maintenance on the equipment until we can get our facility staff up and operating. and doing that maintenance.
All right, thanks, Dave. I'm
Thank
ready
you.
to move on. to
Yeah, okay,
10.
great.
We can discuss it, but
We can discuss item A10. We certainly cannot take a vote on it or any action, but we can have a discussion about it. Councilmember Burns, if you'd like to open that discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably say let's start off with Council Cummings if he has any, presentation that wants to walk through the research that he's done on the topic.
Do you want to introduce this is a referral that you made. Do you want to introduce it as Council Cummings is, or maybe Michelle is prepared to discuss this? I think Michelle is our counsel for this committee, so I think she's...
Okay, sorry, I couldn't. Yeah, I mean, essentially we are, as far as I understand, we are the testing positive for cannabinoids is still something that can disqualify you from a job opportunity in the city of Evanston. And now with cannabis now legal in the state of Illinois, I thought it important to take another look at this. We should not be deciding which legal substances people are allowed to do during non-work activity, during non-work hours, and we shouldn't disqualify people because of those legal substances that they choose to consume on their leisure. And so this was an attempt to, just an exercise to learn more about what our, pre-employment drug screening policy is, what is it based on, how does it interrelate with the safety positions that we have with the city. And, this referral comes from constituents who have reached out and expressed that they had been let go, offered a job and then let go once these cannabinoids came up positive in their pre-employment drug screening. So that's what this is about.
Thank you. We have our HR director, HR manager still currently, Megan Flulara here. Sorry. Can you pronounce it for me? Fulera, sorry. And she is prepared to make statements on this topic.
Yeah, I'm here to answer any questions that you have. We are currently not testing for cannabis in pre-employment screenings with the exception of safety-sensitive positions. Safety-sensitive positions are those positions defined as involving functions, duties, and responsibilities which have a direct and substantial effect on public health or safety or on the health or safety of coworkers, which is a very broad definition and could certainly be applied to every position that we have here. However, we've reserved that to just our public safety in terms of police and fire, service desk operators, our water plant operators, telecommunicators, water chemists, lifeguards, people who are supervising children in our daycares, positions that are required to drive, maintain, or repair heavy equipment. That's actually a federal law, the CDL policy, that we don't have any opportunity to affect or change. And positions required to use, maintain, or repair dangerous tools and equipment, and including high-level electrical voltage.
Thank you. I have one. I'll let council members, either Newsom or Burns, ask questions first. I do have a question. My first question is, when did we institute the policy of only testing for safety-sensitive positions? I would have to imagine that's something that came in under your...
Well, the law changed in terms of what was legal in terms of for drugs, and so we're reviewing the pre-employment parameters. And since that law came into effect, we haven't been screening for that. The new handbook is coming out, which will...
When did that law go into effect?
Several years ago.
So before your time,
Before my time, yes.
So before 2020?
So I can't speak to how, what testing took place before I was here, but while we're testing here, we're not restricting employment decisions based on the presence of cannabis outside of safety-sensitive positions.
So I only asked this because, for example, as clerk, I had, staff that were hired during my time, interns that were seasonal, and those interns that were seasonal had to go through drug testing to work in the clerk's office, which, as important as I think the clerk's office is, I don't think that, whether or not you're intoxicated will cause safety concerns for the residents of Evanston. So
if I may, drug testing includes more than testing for cannabis. It's testing for cocaine, barbiturates, heroin, all sorts of a variety of substances that we don't want to have running through anyone's bloodstream while they're under our employ. Cannabis was previously part of the 9 to 10 panel screening that we're doing. It is no longer part of that.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Burns,
Yeah, and so my hope is that, beyond what we're required to do by the federal government, which to my knowledge really restricts what we can do around jobs that require a CDL. Again, I don't think it's fair to disqualify someone from pre-employment screening because of cannabinoids. I think I've talked to Council Cummings about, continuing to, Council Cummings, what is there's another test that we talked about, not pre-employment drug screening, but another test that employees can be subjected to
So if
in
I
certain
may,
circumstances. What is that again?
So if
You
I
can go
may,
ahead.
you may be referring to reasonable suspicion if an employee appears to be under the influence of any substance during work, or if they're involved in an accident or some sort of things like that, that could qualify for reasonable suspicion, which would permit us to test you for the presence of drugs, including cannabinoids.
Correct. Right. Thank you for that. Yeah, and I don't know if Audrey Thompson is also on the call, but basically this policy, or whatever we're calling it, is significantly impacting the job opportunities that we can offer to Evanston residents. And again, this is a substance that is now legal to consume, and so whether it's a safety sensitive position or not, the position should be, we don't want, no matter what you do in the city, we don't want anybody using a substance, certain substances when you're during work hours. So that's not really the question. The question is, should we disqualify someone for an opportunity for doing something during non-work hours? That's the question. And my answer to that is no. We should no longer be doing that now that that cannabis is legal in the state of Illinois, except when we are required to by, again, the federal government, which does not include, can you go over you listed off positions, which ones do not require CDLs? What percentage, or can you list them off?
I couldn't tell you exactly which positions don't require a CDL. Obviously, the CDLs are bound by the Omnibus Transportation Act, but the safety-sensitive positions, by our own definition, include the sworn individuals in the police and fire departments, our telecommunicators, service desk operators, water plant operators, water chemists, lifeguards.
And I'm sorry to cut you off. That I know. I'm specifically, we are only required to test for cannabis during pre-employment drug screening for positions where a CDL is required. So I was asking how many out of that list require a CDL, but I think your answer is you're not sure at this moment.
Okay, thank you for that. I do think because this is going to be coming back, maybe is that an answer that you'd like us to have before the next meeting?
Correct. Yes.
If we can try to classify, work with staff to determine which of the positions require is by federal law mandated to, have the drug screening because of the omnibus bill that you referred to,
Sure.
and which positions are not.
I could say the majority of them on here do not require a CDL. So a CDL is probably only a fraction of what is listed in our safety-sensitive positions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so if we can have that breakdown at the next meeting, that would be great. Because again, by disqualifying people, we're essentially saying that that these employees or applicants don't have the ability to, that they would be unwilling to understand the difference between what you can do during work hours and what you can't do. And so if we believe that it doesn't make a lot of sense whether I think it's our law department, for example, this is not something in the screening that they go through, and it just seems all arbitrary at this point. So again, if there's reasonable suspicion that someone is under the influence of anything that's causing them to disrupt the work environment and create unsafe working conditions, that's one thing, and that should be across the board for any position. But again, we shouldn't assume that someone can't manage work life and home life appropriately as it pertains just to legal substance use. So, but I would love to get that information at the next meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, we're going to take a brief recess.
I will move to recess while we figure out our next steps here.
Second, and it's recessed. Thank you. Okay, the meeting is now, and then we have our other member too. Now we've got everyone here, just about. All right, she's walking away now. Okay, calling the meeting to order. We have a quorum. We've had public comment. We have 3 members present. May I have a motion to move the minutes? So moved by Councilmember Burns.
So moved.
Seconded by Councilmember Nusma. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. The minutes are approved. May I have a...
Mr. Chair, I'll move the consent agenda, items A1 through A5.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
Does anyone want to pull anything off of the consent agenda? No, I don't think there is anything. I'm going to pull off the consent agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, any abstentions? None. The ayes have it. That brings us to item A6. May I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll move item A6, Resolution 34R22, authorizing the interim city manager to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Evanston and the Board of Education of Evanston-Skokie School District Number 65.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Burns. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All of those opposed, any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I'll move item A7, Resolution 29R22, authorizing the city manager to execute an intergovernmental agreement for the use of personal equipment between the Village of Willow Springs, the Village of Wilmette, the Village of Winnetka, and the City of Evanston.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Nusma, seconded by Councilmember Burns. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, this is a great thing. We'll maybe talk about it one day, but good on staff for doing this. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, any abstentions? Great. Item A8.
Mr. Chair, I move item A8, Resolution 36R22, authorizing the interim city manager to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Evanston and the Forest Preserve District of Cook County.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Burns. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any abstentions? The ayes have it. That brings us to item A9, ordinance. Man, I thought I was going to slip one in there. We were moving really quick.
I'm going to be opposing this one, so I choose not to make the motion.
Okay.
I move item A9, ordinance 48022, amending Title 7, Chapter 12 of the City Code concerning failure to pay delinquent charges.
Second. This is a motion that would eliminate water shutoffs and for residential properties for non-payment and move to another system that I personally think is more humane. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, we'll do a roll. Oh, Councilmember Burns.
I'm happy to reserve comment until council.
Yeah, I'll do that too.
Okay. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma.
Nay.
Councilmember Reed, myself, aye. The motion passes and moves forward to council. Ordinance A10 49022. I'm sorry. I may have a motion on item A10.
Ordinance, I move item A10.
Great.
I will second.
Moved by Councilmember Burns, seconded by Councilmember Nusma. We had discussion. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, great. That passes unanimously. And seeing no further items before us, the APW committee is adjourned.